Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Project Off podcast, the show where we tackle the most unconventional careers out there that are not usually in your corporate office, right? Today, Matt, we have a special guest. Basically, he is the co founder of Whitebox Research, which is a nonprofit initiative that aims to develop more AI safety researchers in the Philippines. Very interesting, Matt, kasi I think AI has been the talk of the town for the past few months, right? Both the pros and the cons, how it helps you do work, but at the same time, how it displaces a lot of jobs as well, right? So maganda
Mhm.
tong ginagawa ng ating guest, right, for the show. And Matt, I think our guest is also the Group Support Contractor for the Center of Effective Altruism. So big words, Matt, but basically EA or effective altruism, which is the main career that we will be calling it today, right? Is basically a philosophy of using evidence and reason for you to do the most good with your life or with your career. Deep shit, Matt. This is deep shit. Okay. So I do remember back then in the COVID times, I was actually looking for ways to become a bit more than the corporate slave that I am, no? And that is when I reached out to our guest and asked him about this initiative in EA or effective altruism. So, ayun, how are you? Are you excited about this, Matt? For our show today, no, there's a lot to unpack.
First of all, when I heard about effective altruism, I mean, I know altruism as a concept, as an idea, right? But I didn't know that there's going to be like a non-profit organization that's specifically for this.
Exactly.
So I'm
Yep.
kind of curious, like, what is it all about, diba?
Exactly. Exactly. Anyways, so without further ado, Project Offbeat fans, Project Offbeat ka Offbeat, let's bring into the show Brian Tan. Hey, Brian, welcome to the show. Good evening.
Hey Lance, it's great to be here. And hey Matt, yeah, I'm honored to be a guest of yours.
Awesome. Brian, first of all, long time no talk, right? You're always around the world, no? But we're glad to have you here in the Philippines, at least for this episode. Talk to us about, where you are right now. How's your state in the Philippines, right? I think you just mentioned you came from the US to attend a conference for EA, right? So yeah, where is your state right now?
Yeah, so I'm at home in Binondo, Manila. I've lived here ever since. Yeah, I came home from a 2 week trip to the US. I attended the Effective Altruism Global Conference in Boston in late October. So yeah, there were four Filipinos in this conference. So yeah, I really like these effective altruism conferences. We get to learn about pressing problems and schedule a bunch of meetings with people working on yeah, neglected problems. So I was very focused on having meetings with people in the AI safety space now that I'm starting a new nonprofit with Whitebox Research on AI safety. And yeah, I also went to the San Francisco Bay Area to meet with some AI safety professionals there and EA professionals. But yeah, I'm good. I'm glad to be back here in Manila, and yeah, looking forward to doing more work here with
Yeah.
Whitebox Research, also helping out a bit with EA Philippines, and wrapping
Yeah.
up my work at CEA. Yeah.
Ganda, Brian. No, I wanna slowly unpack the words that you used in that answer, right? Obviously, there's a lot of people that do not know what is effective altruism, right, or EA in short, in this episode, right? Can you break that down for us, right? Maybe imagine me and Matt is our 9 to 10 year old kids, right? Why the heck? Why should I care about effective altruism, right?
Yeah, so in 3 words, and I have a visual aid with me.
Wow.
Yun.
So yeah, effective altruism. I'm holding up a book called "Doing Good Better" for those listening in. So yeah, this is, yeah, what in one way that people talk about effective altruism is, yeah, EA is about doing good better. So it's about trying to figure out what are the best ways to help others in the world, and how can we put those into practice. So a big part of EA is research. So it's kind of basically like a research field where there are people trying to figure out what are the best, what are the most pressing problems to work on, and what are the best solutions to make progress on solving these problems. And so, what's also great about EA is it's a global movement and community. So there are around 400 effective altruism groups around the world, and many of these groups are in universities as student organizations. So there are EA groups in Harvard, Stanford, Oxford, um, and also here in Manila, in Manila, we have EA groups in Ateneo, UP, and LaSalle. And so, yeah, these EA groups and are introducing people to the concepts of effective altruism. And the two main ways to apply EA are, how can you have more impact with your career, and how can you have more impact with your donations, so that we can
Wow.
do 100 times more good, maybe, if we find
Wow.
the charities to donate to or the right jobs to work on. And I think that's what's yeah, effective altruism makes you
Yeah.
want to think about, yeah, how can you do more good with your careers, or
Yeah.
with your career or donations.
Brian, napaisip lang ako, right? How why did the word better even come to play, right? Because honestly, if I do something good, I mean, I feel good about it already, right?
Mhm.
And I feel like, hey, you know what? Maybe this is it for the month, or may quota lang ako, right? Doing good is not as easy as well, right? But why did the better word come into play, right? Are we doing good incorrectly in this world today, 'di ba? Paano 'yun?
Yeah, good question, Lance. So, yeah, I think something people don't realize is that they think maybe that there like many ways of doing good are, very similar to each other in terms of impact, or that, oh, okay, if we do a bit, that's already enough. But like in many ways in life, right, we want to do more. Like we want to achieve more in our career. We want to have better careers, better
Yeah,
lives.
for
And
sure.
so there's lots of people who are, yeah, want to optimize how they can do more good, and they can get a lot of happiness out of it. I get a lot of happiness trying to figure out how to do more good and taking action on this. So yeah, like so yeah, if you find the right charity to donate to, that, for example, is giving vitamin A supplements to children, or tackling a neglected health intervention, for example, you could the same amount of money you donate to them could end up, saving 10 children instead of
Mm,
just one child,
Nice.
for like a certain amount. Yeah.
right. Brian, I do have a question though. Altruism is outside of this organization, it's kind of this way of life that you can commit yourself to, right? So I assume that a lot of people kind of want to do a lot of good in this world, no? But I guess what's the difference between effective altruism, the organization, versus maybe even the other organizations that we already know. So, for example, if I just donate to UNICEF, if I donate directly to these charities, isn't that the same thing? Or like, how does effective altruism, the organization, help better the efforts? I guess.
Yeah.
What's
If
the
I may add,
difference?
Matt, parang even with churches, 'di ba? Pag nag-donate ba ako sa church, ganun na rin 'yun, right? 'Di ba? I don't know.
Yeah, so yeah, these are fair questions, and yeah, I think yeah, for people who donate in general, right, like that is
Yeah.
a good step already to, like, yeah, I think yeah, a lot of people don't donate, or don't donate a lot of money, so even donating helps. And yeah, like through EA, I think it's this thing where it's actually only, like, there are a small number of charities or a small number of interventions that end up doing way more good compared to other interventions. So like
Mm,
if you, for example, donated to um, a nonprofit that helped develop a vaccine that ends up saving lots of lives, then like this is yeah, like donating to that could be much more impactful compared to donating to an average charity. And so, yeah, it's more on, okay, maybe if you donate to this charity, you do 10 units of good, or you improve the world in a small way. But through
Grabe.
other ways, you
Yeah.
could like 1000x or 100x your amount of good. And I think for data driven, or yeah, people interested in optimizing things, this appeals to them a lot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of careful research needed to do to identify these interventions that do a lot of good, and the charities that do good in them. Of course, this also
Mm.
is in careers where what's like a big problem in the world to solve, and how can you use your career to more directly solve that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Parang I never thought of it this way, Matt, no? Because parang doing good seems so subjective. 'Di ba? I mean, it's like, you don't even think about it, man. Right? You donate, you feel good, you help people, right? But this sounds like a very nerdy way to take it, but I think it's a very much needed route to take. Because in all
Yeah.
of our other careers, we want to be data driven. So why can't we be data driven in something like doing good? Right? I mean, I think nowadays, nga, even in YouTube, they teach you how to be happy in a data driven, process oriented way, right? So, yeah, I mean, I think this is very noble of you guys, Brian. No? Earlier, Brian, you mentioned this career of being an effective altruist. Um, you do a lot of research, right? Can you take us through your day to day? Do you do like convincing people, do you do evangelism, diba? Or it's really more of the nitty gritty data crunching that you have to do to propagate this philosophy of effective altruism?
Yeah, so I'll talk about when I was working full time on EA Philippines in 2021. So yeah, I was maybe to talk first about that. Yeah, I was working as a product designer at First Circle, a fintech company in the Philippines, and yeah, the COVID pandemic happened, and yeah, I was figuring out how I can have a career more directly into effective altruism. I had co-founded EA Philippines in 2018 with two other Filipinos, but yeah, like COVID made me realize there's these big neglected problems that EA was actually looking into, and then it suddenly like yeah, like this threat of a pandemic could actually happen and affect us all. So yeah, that motivated me to want to work on EA more directly rather than just donating through a bit of my salary. So yeah, I decided to apply for a grant to work on EA Philippines as its main community builder. And yeah, I was happy that I got funded for this grant from CEA, where I currently work. Um, and so in EA Philippines, what's good is that EA has already done a lot of research. Of course, research is more on a global level. And of course, in me starting EA Philippines, I wanted to know about, okay, what are the accessible ways Filipinos can do more good, both in terms of donations to local charities and to what careers they could enter. So yeah, one project we did was trying to figure out what are the best local charities. Admittedly, like this is a difficult task. Usually, you need like you know yeah, full-time researcher on this and people with a bit more experience, and you need to get the right data from charities. But through just a bit of like shallow research, and we looked at some existing research done by exist like other EA organizations abroad. We found a few names of charities that could potentially be very cost-effective in the Philippines, around the health and poverty alleviation space mostly. And so aside from this, we also looked into, what are the best career paths people can enter from the Philippines into, yeah, to do good. So one
Yeah.
big one is this concept of charity entrepreneurship. So we all know
Oh.
there's for-profit entrepreneurship, but
Mm.
yeah, there's non-profit entrepreneurship or charity entrepreneurship where you can oftentimes there's like a very effective intervention that actually no one has really started yet in the Philippines. And so you can be an innovator by applying for funding, let's say from EA donors, and then starting this charity locally. And so it's been great to see that a few charities have been started by EA Philippines members
Yeah.
over the last 2 or
Pag,
3
pag,
years.
pag ganun ba, Brian, I can't help but think NGOs are those careers na acceptable sa EA, right? Or government work or public servant, right? I don't know, man. Could you give some some examples here and there, right? What are those careers that are, you know, a bit more doing most good?
Yeah. So I think yeah, the career paths in EA can be quite varied. So yes, like working in the government can be very
Mm,
impactful if you work in the right areas. So yeah, if you're able to work for Department of Health and um, improve their systems or
ooh,
launch like roll out this better intervention, then
yeah,
that can be a lot of good. If you working at NGOs, so it's about working at effective NGOs, and so part of our research was trying to figure out some of these effective NGOs to work for.
yeah.
A few examples are Innovations for Poverty Action, which does research on
Wow.
poverty alleviation and
Mm-mm.
development
Mm,
interventions. There's ID Insight,
mm,
and yeah, there's a few NGOs to work for. But yeah, there's other off-beaten careers you can also enter to do good work. You could become an AI safety researcher, which could involve going into academia or working at an AI lab, or you could be like earning to give, which is taking you're if you're already in a corporate job or some job, then just donating 5% or a certain
Mm-mm.
percentage
wow.
of your annual income
Yeah.
could also
Mm,
already do a lot of good. So yeah, like you
nice.
don't necessarily have to switch careers to do more good. Yeah.
Kasala rin dun yung PCSO.
Oh, come on. PCSO.
Uy, charity, may
Come on,
charity sa pangalan, di
hindi
ba?
nakasalita si Brian, no? Hindi nakasalita si Brian sa PCSO.
So Brian, I kind of want to rewind a bit. No, it's obvious. It's very obvious that I know that you know what you're talking about. You know how the career pathways that people can go to, what they can do with their money, what charitable organizations to um, to donate to. But before we ask you about how you evaluate these charitable organizations and measure their impact, though, I kind of want to go back to the philosophy of altruism. No, how did you latch on to this, and how did you discover this philosophy? How did that lead you to then find effective altruism, the organization?
Yeah, so I was a second year university student in Ateneo, and I was organizing a boot camp to introduce people to tech careers in Ateneo. And yeah, I had a Facebook friend who he was a key staff member for a Philippine senator at the time, and so I met him before at an entrepreneurship event. And yeah, he saw I was organizing this boot camp, so he just sent me two messages like, "Hey, have you heard of 80,000hours.org? This might be relevant to your career design, to your boot camp." So yeah, I went on this website, 80,000hours.org, and yeah, I read this career guide they had on how you can spend your 80,000 hours in your career to do a lot of good. You know, how can you do more good with your 80,000 hours? And yeah, I really enjoyed reading this career guide and found it very interesting and useful. And it's through this guide that I learned, yeah, there's these big neglected problems in the world. And at the time, I was interested in tech careers and working at startups or starting a startup. But like not all problems in the world can be solved by starting a startup.
Yep.
Uh, and so, yeah, I was very interested in EA from then. 80,000 hours is part of the EA movement, and yeah, I tried telling a few friends about EA, but no one was really interested back then, out of my friends. And yeah, it took like a year later. I was in fourth year. Yeah, starting my fourth year in Ateneo, I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna graduate in a year's time, and I need to figure out my career better. So I started reading the 80,000 hours guide more, and I got more interested in EA. And yeah, I searched EA, Effective Altruism Philippines, on Facebook, and a Facebook page was newly started for EA Philippines. So yeah, Kate Lupango had my co-founder started this page, but she hadn't organized any events yet. So I messaged the page and I met with her and two other people interested in EA. And so together we started organizing monthly events.
Yeah.
So, our first event was just in a small condo meeting room, 8 people discussing EA. But yeah, over time, it slowly grew that, yeah, we would get more people attending our events. And yeah, things just started getting better after that.
Yeah. You've come a long way, no? From a condo to Boston, right? I mean,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think the EA movement broadly has also gone a long way
exactly.
since then. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's very commendable, Brian, and the team of EAPH, right? Because you mentioned you just basically someone, reached out to you, messaged you with two messages, right? Unlike now, where if you want to know more about EA in the Philippines, very relevant. It's always there already, very accessible. You mentioned you are in the three biggest universities in the Philippines in Ateneo, Salle, and UP. Right? So kung estudyante ka, you want to do good even while you're still young, right? You already have those chapters in place, right? And of course, even if you're a professional like me and Matt, you have EAPH to actually do all of these events, right? So truly great job, thanks for doing this, man. I hope, people continue to, drill down on it, right? Continue to grow in it, right? Because I think you mentioned you're leaving by December, right? To focus more on AI safety, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, thanks for, at least starting that foundation of EA in the Philippines, right? Um,
Yeah, thanks a lot, Lance.
yeah,
And yeah, yeah, of course, yeah, I'm excited for what's next to happen with EA Philippines. Yeah, I'm less involved now at EA Philippines, but yeah, I'm still like advising things and yeah, looking forward to what happens next.
beautiful. Brian, I think my next question would be, let's just say in an idealistic hypothetical world, right? And given you have one power that a genie would grant you, what power would you ask that genie to make EA more understandable to people, right? Because it's not an easy concept, and it may be that a concept where people would say, atinista ka eh, 'di ba? Kaya alam mo 'yan, or interesado ka sa mga ganyang philosophical, life-provoking questions, right? Pero if I'm just a day-to-day commoner, I'm just going around with my life day to day, how would you bring EA to them, no? Given a genie would grant you any power in this world.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. So I think one thing I would try to do is to instill this concept called scope sensitivity.
Ooh.
So I know those are another two big words, but it's this idea that we need to more viscerally feel when when the number is bigger, when the scope is bigger. So because I think there's these um, quotes, right, where a single death is a tragedy, a thousand deaths are a statistic, and a lot of people don't feel viscerally when like when these everyday deaths happen, when preventable deaths like people dying of malaria or of people still dying from COVID or the flu even, and these things that we kind of forget. But if we actually felt the right emotions when these big tragedies happen, or when we fail to prevent a tragedy, uh, like I think that would just make people more motivated to work on these problems. Of course, that's very difficult, right? Because yeah, it's a very hypothetical scenario, but yeah, I would hope that people can train themselves to think about this, where yeah, that when you see these big numbers happening, or when you see that this intervention is doing more good, like how can you actually feel that more and try to pursue that more? Yeah.
Ganda. Yeah. Parang siya nung COVID, right? I mean, the first 5 people victimized by COVID, kilala mo pa yung mga pangalan,
Hmm.
right? But then when it's already scaling up every day, di ba? Ibang klaseng increments na, people just stopped tracking altogether. and it's just a statistic, right? And nice, nice. It's very interesting, what you mentioned about code sensitivity.
So, Brian, I was let's get back to, I guess, how do you decide which charitable organizations kind of merit being, featured, I guess, in the roster of EA, and how do you measure the impact afterwards? We're if we're talking about money here, obviously it's going to be a very sensitive subject. How do you communicate to your stakeholders as well?
Yeah, so the first thing is figuring out, is this charity working on a big and neglected and solvable problem? So
Yeah.
yeah, like, so yeah, I'll yeah, EA, one framework people in EA use to prioritize causes to work on is yeah, this framework of looking at like the importance, neglectedness, and solvability of the problem. So yeah, how big is it, how neglected, and how solvable.
Mhm.
And through this framework, some like some causes come up as being very important to work on. So firstly, like global health and development, where yeah, many people are still living in extreme poverty and can't afford basic needs, or die of preventable diseases, or have health limitations because of because of one reason or another. And so, but there are actually cheap interventions that you could donate to, or that you could implement to improve lives significantly. And aside from global health, there's this more even more this there's this more niche cause of animal welfare,
Yeah.
specifically of farm animals. So yeah, it's there are yeah, millions there yeah, millions or billions of chicken and fish being slaughtered in the Philippines every year. And if we can find ways to improve their welfare, or if we can cut down on our meat consumption in our diets, that improves animal welfare. It also makes it cut down on carbon emissions. So aside from animal welfare, there's also pandemic prevention, specifically like worst case
Yeah,
pandemics that could like kill 50% or more of the population.
grabe.
So yeah, this is yeah, there are nonprofits working to make sure we have better biosafety practices globally, to make sure there's not a lab leak of a dangerous pathogen, or that people aren't playing around with dangerous pathogens. And then yeah, one more causes that I work on now is AI safety. So making sure that the development of AI goes well, such that we won't have large catastrophes if the AI goes into the hands of yeah, goes into the wrong hands, or an accident happens out of it, or if we end up not being able to control future AI. So of course, yeah, that's like figuring out first, like what is a good cause to be supporting. And so yeah, that actually means there's like hundreds of effective nonprofits to potentially donate to across these cause areas. But um, like you'll have to figure out what cause is good to work on. But of course, it's very difficult, right? Like, how do you compare animal welfare versus global
Yeah,
health
no, I
versus
was about to
AI
ask,
safety?
like, how
Um,
do you know? Yeah.
yeah, so that's that. In some ways, you kind of have to just rely on, okay, what like either what do you think is personally best, or like what are some assumptions you make. And so yeah, to I think, like, for people who want more certainty in the impact they want to create, they tend to donate to global health and development charities, because AI safety and biosecurity are more speculative causes to work on, right? It's like, oh, you're trying to prevent this 15% chance of AI causing a large catastrophe, for example. So yeah, you have to make judgment calls here. And so, like, once you pick a cause, now you're trying to find, okay, what are the best interventions or solutions for example, in global health and development, it's yeah, how do you save lives cost effectively, or how do you improve lives cost effectively? And yeah, there's like research in this space. Thankfully, a lot of it is done by this organization, givewell.org. So they yeah, try to search for the best charities globally, and they recommend a certain set of charities. Yeah, like none of their top charities operate in the Philippines, because actually, like, yeah, you can do more good with your donations, like trying to save or improve lives in countries in other low and middle income countries. But
Okay.
like EA Philippines, yeah, we did try to look into local charities as well that could be cost effective to donate to.
Mm.
So yeah, we have some like preliminary findings on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very interesting, no? You mentioning that you know, the charities, that if you really want to do the most good might not be, in the Philippines, where possibly, people would think I'm maybe from a first world country, I want to go to a third world country like the Philippines and help poverty there, right? When technically, 'di ba, research says that meron pang mas kailangan mong tulungan, right?
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. Bri, I want to ask as well. I have this doctor friend, and in a coffee chat that we've had with him, he sometimes asks the question, "Why do you corporate people want to try to do something more impactful, 'di ba? When as a doctor, parang hindi niya naman nararamdaman 'yon, right? And I think it's mainly because obviously you help people every day, you cure people every day, right? So that kind of most good thing is already innate within them. So my question to you is EA mostly or predominantly for the corporate people in the offices, who might have more resources but are lacking in that emotional component, no? Or that fulfillment component, right? Like me and Matt, diba? What's your take on that? People that have worked with EA, ano yung mga usual demographics?
Yeah. So ideally EA would be this very, would be practiced by a majority of the world. But until, like, of course, that would be, like, yeah, there's many facets of EA, and that can be difficult. But yeah, in terms of what audiences it resonates with, I guess so far it was easier to, um, yeah, seed student chapters in the top three universities. And so the people who join these our student chapters in EA Philippines, they can come from like development studies background, or like, yeah, STEM backgrounds, and like people, yeah, who there are some management engineering people who joined these organizations. But yeah, I think like it appeals to a broad set of people because there's many different facets of EA that could attract someone, and yeah, it's made up of different cause areas. So it's possible people get attracted to one specific cause area rather than the EA more broadly. And so if it's AI safety, then that appeals to the computer science majors. But for
Okay.
biosecurity or global health,
Okay.
then it's people with health sciences backgrounds, for example.
Interesting.
Um, and we even people in government or interested in government work are attracted to work on EA Philippines. And yeah, we also have um, people who do executive assistant or virtual assistant work,
Hmm.
um, who, yeah, they actually work for EA organizations abroad, and they got into EA through working for these EA orgs abroad. Yeah.
Interesting. So it's based on the problem pala talaga, right? So kahit anong career ka, there could be a problem that's very relatable to you, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's very interesting. I want to segue to, you mentioned earlier you were working on AI safety now for Whitebox Research, right? Which is this
Yes.
initiative that you guys co-founded. Um, and I guess can you share about why you drilled down specifically on this EA initiative? Is it only purely because of personal preference, diba? Or what is AI safety to you as a person?
Yeah. So um, it's a mix of personal and like EA factors, right? So um, I mean, of course, broadly, yeah, like I really want to figure out how to make the most impact with my career. And yeah, I think I was not learning as much anymore in my current job at CA. Like I enjoy it broadly, and I'm happy I get to help EA groups around the world with operations tasks I handle. But yeah, I started to get worried more about AI safety when ChatGPT got released in December last year.
Yeah.
And I had heard about AI safety as a problem through EA, where they think advanced AI in the future could end up potentially even, it's very grim, but yeah, it could potentially kill all of humanity, or even make our futures go really badly. And and so like yeah, this is like a very fringe topic, but I did read a couple of books about it and read the research about it, and yeah, it seemed like this not there's like a not yeah, there's some chance that this could happen within the next 20-30 years. But when ChatGPT got released, like I got to feel and interact with the system, that can write a poem in a few seconds, or can write code. Like when the March GPT-4 got released, it can now write code uh, well. And yeah, that many people in the EA community globally also started to get more worried about AI safety. And so I was thinking of how I could switch careers to work more directly on AI safety. And yeah, I was able to meet. There's some people in EA Philippines who are interested in AI safety, and they have technical backgrounds, like they're into coding. So I met with two of these people who I knew of them previously, and yeah, we just started brainstorming together. How do we contribute to AI safety? Where yeah, the Philippines doesn't have a large AI ecosystem yet as compared to the US or UK, but how can we leverage strengths of the Philippines to contribute to AI safety? And even just with how it's a there's if yeah, like you don't need to pay, like we don't need high US or UK salaries to produce AI safety researchers, and we have the networks locally in top universities to try finding you know uh, these hidden geniuses who could potentially contribute to AI safety. And so yeah, we ideated this training program that yeah, our first project at Whitebox Research will be a training program to do AI, uh, a specific form of AI safety research called AI interpretability research. So trying to make sure these AI systems are more understandable to humans, and we understand how they work on a
How they work?
granular
Yeah.
level.
Yeah.
Because yeah, the crazy thing is, yeah, ChatGPT can do all these amazing things, but you can't actually explain why it's doing what it's doing. Like the broad level, but you won't know. Oh, okay. Why can it? Like yeah, ChatGPT cannot spell backwards the word lollipop, but it can like write code that is like so.
Really?
Yeah, it can't do this.
Baka wala
It
sa
still
Google.
can't do this.
I don't know. Yeah. Interesting. That's very, very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I never thought about it. I mean, you always see the end product.
Oh my
Uh,
god, he's right.
di ba?
He's right. I just
Yeah.
freaking checked it.
Yeah. That is very cool, no? That is very cool, di ba? Uh, why you guys have to break down what's already working in front of you, right? Which is ChatGPT, right? Sige.
Yeah,
Go,
it
go.
reminds me of like this game, online game before about so the example for the online game was it was a car driven by AI. Then it's going to hit, it has a possibility of hitting two people. So one could be a man, one could be a woman. It has to make a choice. Who does he hit, diba? The other aspects could be there's an old woman and a criminal. Who does he hit first? So parang it's I hope that's kind of where you're pointing at, no, na hopefully this training module is around that, which makes us understand more what AI is trying to do, especially how it integrates into our daily life. It might not be perfect, but at least we understand how it works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because these AI systems, people are these AI companies, and many big parts of the world, there's a huge interest and rush to deploy AI in all facets of companies, and but we don't even fully understand why it does certain things. So that makes it harder for us to trust that these models are going to be used to that there won't be large amounts of harm from doing them. Like
Mm.
yeah, there's research being done that these large language models, like ChatGPT, can actually help people build a bioweapon, or
Grabe.
things like that. And so even if OpenAI or these companies put these safety filters into the models, it's actually not that hard to take them out or to jailbreak them in order to have it help you do illegal things or things that are hard, like
Grabe.
even just helping you scam someone. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Brian, earlier you talked about, you guys doing a program this quarter one, right? Coming up Q1 2024, right? And I can't but help but notice when I looked into this program, no, it wrote that it was an 8-week program, right? So medyo I would think hindi siya ganun kadali, right? Hindi siya ganun kadali to actually understand how these models work, right? Why do you think, I mean, maybe if you could give us a preview of, how that 8 week will go, right? Just for anyone that's listening, that sort of wants to get an idea of, how to break this down and how to learn more about, AI, right? Yeah, talk to us about that.
Yeah, so we see the 8 weeks as just giving you the fundamentals to get started with AI interpretability research. So if, of course, if you
Mhm.
want to um, get better at this and to become an AI interpretability researcher, you'll need more than 8 weeks. So actually, our full program is we'll have this 8 week training program, and then afterwards, so we're looking to accept 10 to 15 people for this program, and it's going to be part time. We'll meet every Saturday for like 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's going to be quite somewhat intense that way.
Grabe.
But yeah, we're looking for these uh, you know people who are extremely curious about AI systems and how they work. And yeah, this is going to be a free program or basically free program. And so after this 8 week program, there will be like a 3 to 4 month uh, extended training phase or research phase where we'll work with around 5 of the graduates of our training program, and yeah, help them find a mentor to do more interpretability research, and that will also support them in doing this research so that they can publish a paper in AI interpretability and contribute to this field globally. And so yeah, through the 8 week program, it be very hands on. So there will be a lot of coding work involved because with interpretability, we want people to get to know these AI models deeply, and so they're gonna need to understand how to build their own mini Chat GPT, for example, like a very mini version because it's of course difficult to build the whole version. But after and then through within the 8 weeks, we want people to probably replicate a research paper in AI interpretability. So once you can replicate or do the same, find the same results as a paper, that helps you in the future build on those results to have a new finding on and build to our understanding of these models. Yeah.
Interesting. Very research heavy din pala siya, no? Um,
Yeah, and
yeah,
coding, somewhat coding
yeah,
and math heavy. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Shit. Very tough stuff, Matt. Man,
Yeah.
that's tough, no? Yeah. Sige. My next question, Brian, no, is um, in an ideal world, what do you think should be the safety practices that immediately must happen, no? In the world of AI, like, if you could give us a few, sneak peek, no, ano ba dapat, how do we safeguard, no, or what must be in place in the utilization of all of these AI programs.
Yeah, good question. So one thing that's a good thing that's happened within the last month is that there's increased interest from uh, governments, specifically the US and UK and even China, to
Mm.
regulate AI. So
Wow.
yeah, right now there's not a lot of regulation specifically for AI, and now there's increased interest. Like there's um, policies being worked out to make sure that these best AI models are will actually be regulated. That maybe companies need a license to develop these large models, and that they need to uh, undergo a third party auditing and evaluation. Because if you just have the company
Yeah,
self evaluate themselves, they can cut
parang may
corners.
regulator, I see.
Yeah, so
Okay.
in the same way that in when we're trying to launch new medicine, there's lots of testing first that happens. It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy that there's not as much testing that's legally binding of these AI models right now when they can
Yeah.
touch so many lives. So with more regulation of AI companies, that can make things a bit safer. Uh, of course, increased funding for AI safety research would be great. So now there's the UK government is having an AI safety task force. It's a government approved research to really try to push forward AI
Yeah.
safety, especially evaluating AI systems. And another thing is actually um, like potentially banning open source AI models that are like very
Really?
powerful.
Mm.
And so yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that can be quite surprising where lots of people are in favor of open source
Yeah.
and it helps push innovation. But the problem with open source is yeah, when you um, let anyone be able to build these powerful AI models through open source, you can't control what it would be used for as much
Exactly.
as compared
Exactly.
to if it's a closed source. And so yeah,
Yeah.
this happened where yeah, Facebook released this AI model that's open sourced and it has safety filters in it. But because it's open sourced, it's easy to take out these safety filters, and you
Mm.
can use it to uh, you know uh, do things like scam people or generate hacks or other things you don't want an AI model to be
Yeah.
doing.
What do you think should be the principles behind these safety regulations, right? When I say principles, is it something like, okay, maglalagay tayo ng regulation to ensure that, let's just say, jobs won't be displaced. Like the human is always more important than the machine. Just for example, no, badly put. Um, any principle there that you have in mind that you think should be at the forefront of any AI safety regulator discussions that we have there?
Yeah, so it's about like how sure are we that when we train a better AI model, we need to make sure that we have the safety uh, safety policies in place to uh, build that type of model. So actually, what even one thing is if you train a super powerful model, but your security practices are bad, like someone could just hack it out of your company and
Yeah,
then like do harm with it, for example.
correct,
And so
correct.
like you need good information security, cyber security practices, for example. So actually there's this thing where it's kind of clear how to improve models, but these companies like Google and Microsoft, they're worth billions, nearly $1 trillion, right? So they have a lot of money they can put into training the next model. And when they train this next model, they have to make sure that um, like they test this heavily and that they make sure, have we uh, thought of all the ways that this model could be unsafe for the world,
Yeah,
and have we made sure we can we've put in the right amount of safety filters and the right amount of testing, and that no one someone won't just steal this, or we're not going to open source this. So there's
yeah,
lots of things to put in. And
for sure.
um, yeah, I think that one thing also is these companies aren't thinking a lot about job displacement as much. I think where they're kind of leaving it to governments and society to figure out what to do with
Shit,
these.
man.
And
Oh man,
it's there's already research about copywriters and graphic
exactly.
designers who are having less revenue because it's so easy now to generate a logo or have your text be proofread by
Yeah,
AI. And so I think there needs to be more understanding of, okay, when we build this model, is it safe? And when we release it, what will the implications be?
I'm glad that you're in this battle for AI safety, no? That's very important, to have someone with also an effective altruism background. Because like you said, there's a lot of people that wants to go into an AI career, but not necessarily the safety aspect or the security aspect of it, right? So it's good that your team is there to also balance it out, right? Given all of these new careers.
I mean, to be fair, if there's anyone I want to go into AI, to go into Web3, let's say, it's going to be people who are into effective altruism. So, kind of would want to encourage more people to go into it. Let's say, I guess, if there were a lot of people like who are not into it right now, what would you say are the core philosophies or core things that they can do, like right now, right at this second, that they can practice their effective altruism? Yeah, what, any
Maybe
tips you
maybe
would, I know?
maybe Brian, you have a book there, no? Again, another book.
I
That they
have
can
Do
I have
start
good
two I have
better.
I have two other books
there.
beside me here. But yeah, so that's a good question. So yeah, what's one of the best ways to um, like more deeply understand effective altruism in a short amount of time, like 2 months, is to join an effective altruism, like an intro to EA fellowship. So yeah, we have these our student chapters have these 8 week fellowships. They're kind of like discussion groups where yeah, you have a facilitator from the student group who and like 5 participants who where you have to read let's say like 1 to 2 hours worth of readings or videos and about EA topics, and then you discuss them together to learn about yeah, like what is this general framework of EA, how can we pick the right cause area to work on, what is scope sensitivity, the thing I just described a while ago, and going into these specific cause areas that seem like they could be very impactful to work on, like global health, animal welfare, AI safety. So yeah, I very much recommend people to try to join these fellowships. So I think EA Blue and EA UP Diliman hopefully will be, yeah, I think they'll be running this fellowship next semester. And there's also, if you are not able to join those, or actually if you want a more global perspective, there are virtual fellowships that the Center for Effective Altruism holds, where you can discuss this with people abroad, actually,
Mm.
about these EA concepts. And so, aside from that, yeah, there's books and podcasts to listen to learn more about EA. So yeah, there's this Doing Good Better, that book that you can read. And aside from that, there's the 80,000 Hours website and podcast. So 80,000 Hours has this great career guide on how you can do more impact with your career. And so, yeah, I recommend that a lot. Yeah, they also have a podcast where they interview these top people in EA fields or organizations, including AI safety researchers, biosecurity researchers, people who work in government. Of course, these are people mostly abroad, or yeah, these focus on people abroad. But yeah, you can also get in touch with EA Philippines. So yeah, we're in a bit of a transition phase currently and are busy trying to fundraise more money for the next year. But yeah, you can reach out and we'll yeah, help you figure out your next steps. And yeah, there's also trying to learn more about effective giving. So there's a website called givingwhatwecan.org, which teaches you or shows you effective charities to potentially donate to. Yeah.
Brian, how about in AI safety, right? I guess how do you get started there? Like maybe a YouTube channel or on a website that you'd recommend, that people can, look out for?
Yeah. So there are TED Talks about it, both EA and AI safety. So yeah, I think yeah, there's a TED Talk by Stuart Russell about yeah, how we could lose control of AI and how we can control AI.
Mm.
And yeah, um, there's there's Whitebox Research, where we hope to give the skills needed to actually contribute to AI safety. But yeah, there's also a similar fellowship or discussion group. There's a website called AISafetyFundamentals.com where you can apply to
Yun.
join a
Yun.
virtual fellowship to learn
Okay.
about AI safety. It's free. It's you can get paired with people around the world. It's mainly for
Yeah.
people with a computer science background. And yeah, like for now, yeah, you can reach out to either EA Philippines or Whitebox Research as well.
Awesome.
Um, yeah,
Yep. All right. Thanks. A couple of cues. I think Bry is a bit more on a personal side, no. And I think we'd like to sort of close with these two questions, right? I guess for me, as maybe for our student listeners, we also have a couple, no, of them that listen to our podcast. And let's say they wanna, hey, I wanna be like Brian, the way he thinks, the way he exposes himself to different global perspectives, right? But I also want to share to them, I guess, the other side of the coin, Brian, right? What were the sacrifices, no, that you personally had to make? You mentioned as a sophomore, you'd had to learn from different people as well, global people, did hackathons, right? All of these sound, impressive, but I'm sure there were a lot of sacrifices as well that you had to take. And even now, right, you could easily possibly bag maybe a 6 to 7 digit kind of tech job, right? But you're going for these kinds of careers, diba?
I don't think
Um,
I would bag a 7-digit tech job.
hindi pa for now, right? But hindi pa, right? But you get me, right? What are the sacrifices that had to come in play, I guess, to also warn the people that will be entering into this field?
Yeah, that's a good question. So um, I think being interested in something niche and something that very few people understand or appreciate, of course, can be isolating or alienating. But I guess to me, like, I was quite fine with that. Like, it was, I was interested in, yeah, I was not afraid to be into this niche thing, and I was happy to tell more people about it, get more people interested. But yeah, like, it's more unstable in terms of your job security in EA. Where when I was first applying for a grant for EA Philippines, I only got funding for 6 months, and it wasn't even a full time grant. It was like 24 hours a week, and but yeah, through like it at least like paid well, like a good enough salary that I was willing to leave my job at First Circle to do this work. Thankfully, they did increase the grant funding and gave me a longer time frame. But yeah, like in these nonprofits, um, especially on an early stage, you tend to be given like 1 year grants only, or even a bit less. And so, yeah, you will have more anxiety knowing, okay, am I going to get this next grant? Did I have enough impact to show that these donors think and trust me that I can that this project I'm working on is very effective? And so yeah, that can be daunting. um, and yeah, of course, like, it's difficult to engage with EA when most people in EA are abroad in yeah, like, more developed countries. And so you can have imposter syndrome
Exactly. Exactly.
trying to navigate this space. But I think if you get to know people and you have the right mindset, you ask questions, you find small ways to contribute, people are very willing and happy to help. And that's
Yep.
really exciting. And people in EA want like a more diverse movement where people from the global south can contribute, because yeah, there's lots of talent and interest as well in these areas. um, and yeah, like, I think it's yeah, I think the main sacrifices have been yeah, like, job security and a bit of financial security. Like, even at Whitebox Research, we're still doing a bit of fundraising. But yeah, I wanted to take the leap in doing this even without like having a lot of funding yet for our Whitebox Research. Yeah, I think, of course, like, I've become very busy with all these EA projects, juggling these things. So that does, like, uh, I have taken sacrifices to my social life or family life. But of course,
Oh
yeah,
man.
I still try to um, catch up with friends here and there. And I'm hoping at least next year I'll just be focused mainly on Whitebox, and
Yeah,
I'll have more time to have fun. Yeah.
man. Good luck with your journey. I mean, what they say, the biggest, the greatest people, often have the loneliest journeys, right? It's usually lonely up there thinking of all of these things, right? So yeah, man. Good luck to you, right? Make sure to keep up with that social life, that exercise, uh, the
I gotta hang out with
relationships.
Lance.
There you go, right? Hey, I don't even have much of those kinds of life, right? Brian, my last question to you, and Matt, feel free to also ask later if you have any. But Brian, my last question to you is, um, all of us here, three of us, are all Chinese Filipino Chinito, Chinito people, right? And there will be those talks in the dinner table where they would say, that our generation is a bit more idealistic, is a bit more, why do we even bother ourselves in thinking about, like you mentioned, these neglected problems that our global world are currently facing, diba? So I guess I want to ask, right? How did you sort of navigate through that? No, I'm not sure if you have a family that is fully supportive of you, or you might have aunts and uncles as well that may have challenged that notion of you already deciding that path, diba? How did you do it? Because a lot of people are, telling you money is the most important, security is the most important, right? Thinking about your future is the most important, right?
Yeah, great question. So, uh, yeah, I think I'm like lucky and privileged where I don't have, I'm not pressured to like provide for my parents or siblings. And I still live with my family, and so I have a lot of, yeah, I have less expenses to pay for. And yeah, my parents have let me try to figure out what I want to do on my own, and haven't had strong opinions on what I should do, and that's great. And so yeah, I've been very interested in um, yeah, charting an offbeat path to my life for a while now. So
Yes.
yeah, I was first interested in startup careers, which are, yeah, less understandable to my family and relatives. And yeah, but of course with EA, it's even less uh, understandable, and my parents will probably still struggle to explain what EA is. But yeah, I think they see that I'm very interested and passionate about it, and that I'm still able to go to these conferences abroad in EA and have fun and a lot of fulfillment through these. And yeah, they're supportive of it. And yeah, I think like I'm okay with like being in something that's just harder to explain. Like that's what happens sometimes. And
Yeah.
like I think like I still like make compromises here and there, and I'm not like trying to influence my family so much. Like I would focus on my work, and I
Yeah.
kind of try to separate things out more. Yeah.
Awesome. I could just imagine, the mom and dad of Brian, talking to their fellow kumares and compares, and they ask about, oh, so what's Brian been doing the past few, the past few years? Damn, it's gonna be tough to explain EA, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so that's very interesting, no?
If you were the president of the world, let's say, what is the number one problem that you would want to solve as soon as possible? Like, what is your number one priority, the thing that you care the most about solving? What would that be?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I think it would be around the realm of AI, where I think we on our current path we could have human level AI within 10 years or less, and that's going to be a very jarring, scary path when AI is in charge of doing large parts of the economy. And I think we need vastly more resources and attention on this problem of AI safety and how we can navigate this transition to human level AI. Maybe that means actually slowing down AI development, even if that may make it you know even if that may mean it would take a few years longer until we um, develop new healthcare technologies through AI, or find new ways to help solve climate change through AI. I think that could actually be worth it, where we make sure we have the right safety policies in place and the right mindset to approach this dizzying scenario where we're gonna have human level AI, or if not human level AI, like very good AI as the years go by, and um, we need to make sure we navigate this transition smoothly into this world where we can coexist with AI well.
I'm
Awesome.
surprised by that answer, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I would think like what, poverty or climate change. Pero wow, AI.
Yeah, yeah. So
It's not big a deal.
I think AI could also help all of these problems very much.
Yeah,
Where
yeah,
Mm,
yeah, like generally technology improvements have raised living standards quite a bit. Of course, there's still a lot more work to do. Um, but yeah, I think um, yeah, if quite a number of people in EA think AI safety is the top problem to work on, and we could be wrong. And of course, this is more on neglectedness, where yeah, it is more neglected compared to, for example, climate change,
yeah.
and so that's one big reason it could be worth investing in. Yeah.
Awesome. Bri, I think that's about all the questions that we have. Uh, Thanks, man, for joining us in this off the beaten path and this episode, right? uh it's been very fun to actually listen to someone that may sort of feel the same way that we do sometimes, right? Why, I mean, why the hell are we spending so much time to cover so much of these off-beaten careers, right? And for you even more, no, off-beaten organizations, charitable organizations, right? So yeah, it's been a thrill. I want to ask, anything that you're excited about that you want to plug in the show before we leave, right? Anything that you want to like promote to anyone listening?
Yeah, maybe just to wrap up a bit on what you said, like, yeah, it can potentially feel lonely, right? Like, I mean, but actually, yeah, in EA, thanks to the EA Philippines community, and if it's the AI safety community, like it doesn't have to be so lonely with yeah, if you find a few people in your university or in EA Philippines that are interested in a specific cause area, like it won't feel so lonely. And I think it's gonna be about, these big societal changes. Often you have to be that first one who does something less popular in order to push forward change. And so, yeah, in terms of what I'll plug, yeah, we at Whitebox Research are going to open applications soon for our Whitebox AI interpretability bootcamp. That's what we're tentatively calling it. Maybe we'll change the name and by the time this comes out. But yeah, like our white box bootcamp will be around February to April, and applications for it will likely be out in December. And so yeah, we're looking for people aged 18 to 25 in Manila, or yeah, can attend these sessions in Manila, in QC or Pasig, and that yeah, we want to yeah, help you learn more about AI interpretability and become a great AI interpretability researcher. So if this resonates with you, if you're very curious about AI systems and you want to make sure that we navigate this change into human level or superhuman level AI safely, then yeah, I'd encourage you to apply for our program. We have a Facebook page at Whitebox Research. We'll soon release a website at whiteboxresearch.org. So yeah, that's all.
Cool
Thanks so
stuff.
much, Lance
Right.
and Matt,
Yeah.
for
Right. If they
having
want
me
to
on.
contact you, what's the best way?
Yeah, so you can email me at brian at whiteboxresearch.org. You can also add me on LinkedIn or send me a message there. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Bri, for joining us. Thank you, Offbeat, for listening to this episode, and we hope you learned a thing or two about effective altruism and AI safety. Thanks, guys.